they could reach out to them and say, hey, I'm such and such from Cisco PR, for example, or Cisco WebEx. Can we talk about this? Reach out to me, call me, or send me an email to this address, something like that.
And would you allow for the negative feedback to stay on wherever it is if you had control on it? Like,
if we have control of it, that's a good question. I think we leave it on. Because what we want to happen is talk to that person, help them out with their issue, hopefully resolve their issue, and ideally that person will turn around and say, thank you, right? Thanks for helping me. So we'd like to see that entire conversation take place, right? I think that's helpful. So I myself am the main point of contact for all things social media for India. We have other folks for Europe, we have other folks for South America, Asia Pac, and so forth. There's a team of about seven of us that try to help out these other regions. So they come to us with anything social media and we help them.
And is it as growing in the same way?
Not the same rate not at the same rate in every region. Some regions it's used quite a bit. These regions are finding as they do their listening. Some regions there's not a lot of activity about Cisco on these social platforms, so it varies. Yep. Okay, so I want to try to give you an idea of how we actually handle this data. How do we tackle this as a company? I'm not going to show you the actual tool. I don't think the tool is that important, but it's more the process. So what we have listed here are 3 posts that all happen to be from Twitter. Different kinds of posts that we would see and take action upon, some sort of action upon. Of course, these posts would be posts that we would find through our tool, and there's a number of tools that we could use, but through our tools and identify them and tag them within the tool. In this case, those purple little boxes are the tags that we apply. It's basically like a code. And we call it whatever we want. Top left, we tag this post that we found in our tool as a critic. As a critic, they're saying something negative, stunningly poor, I can't read it, customer service looks like, about WebEx. So we tagged it as a critic, we tagged it as WebEx. Of course, critic is one of the ABC categories that we identified and looked at earlier. Critic has to do with WebEx. WebEx has a team that is well engaged with social media, and we assigned a priority 2. And we did did the same for the other 2. Support WebEx P1 in the center, and the last one is also WebEx, and that one is a positive one that we tagged as buzz. Someone saying thank you WebEx, and then we assign that a priority 3. We don't need to do something immediate with that, but that would be an example, that last one, where we would take that and possibly put it on one of our websites or one of our blogs or something and showcase it. We call it buzz. We have it's called a widget, a little box on our website that scrolls through positive posts from people about Cisco. So that would be one that would go there. So this is a pretty manual process that we're looking at here. Quite a few people involved, all the teams that we are working with, as well as our own team. We would tag them in our tool, right? Tag those posts. But we're also trying to employ some automation to help tackle more of this data. And the tool that we use allows us to implement some of this automation. It happens to be called Social Hub. That's the name of the product that we're using. But it's basically an engine where we can feed these posts that we tag in our tool, send it to this Social Hub, this engine, that will then direct it to the appropriate teams that are part of our network. So once we tag those posts, it triggers certain actions, it looks at certain criteria, depending on what that is. In this case, if it's critic, if it's WebEx and P1, then it'll send it internally to the appropriate team to take some sort of action. And this is a real example on the right there, where it was the first example here. Someone said something negative, had to do with WebEx. The WebEx team, they responded using their own Twitter handle. And in the end, the guy says, kudos to WebEx for their Twitter monitoring and response. Yes?
I get what you're doing, but I don't understand how you can look at 6,000 of those type of posts just from Twitter in 1 week.
It's challenging. Yeah, so the tool, it is a challenge, but the tools allow us to sift through this stuff very quickly. right, based on keywords. I don't want to get into too much detail about the tool, but the tool provides us other tools to be able to analyze a lot of data very quickly
Is
and
that
categorize.
Radian 6 or is that Social Hub?
Radian 6. Radian 6. Yeah, so Radian 6 is the main tool that we do to do this. This kind of work, this kind of processing of the data. It's actually a pretty powerful tool, it's why we use it. So that's what we use, but there's other ones out there you can use too.
So you don't have like a certain number of people every day spending from 8 to 6 just staring at Twitter?
No, we don't. It's really spread out, and it's really part of several roles to try to cover all this. It's quite a big effort. We try to focus on the priority cases, but the tool allows us to identify those pretty quickly. And we don't get everything, right? We don't get everything, and we are trying to get more teams and people on board to help us look at everything, right? So we don't get everything, but we do try to identify the priority stuff.